and magic. Coin magic.
Hello.
Yes. The coin magic. All right, we'll give it a few minutes to uh for the YouTube to do its thing. Um
Send
but
out the
yeah.
notices.
Yeah,
Drip feed
I'm
notices that.
curious and Frank, maybe you might be able to answer this. When I set it up like this, does YouTube still send out the notification? Or
Yes, it's supposed
okay.
to.
Well,
It's keyed by your account through Streamer.
I know, supposed to.
Yeah, there's that caveat exactly.
It's supposed to do a lot of things.
Always the red tape.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Um. All right. So we are going to have we are going to have a good time tonight. For those that are going to watch the replay on this later on, we have obviously my normal co-host Blues Coins, but this week we also have Coin Dragon or El
Where?
Dragon. El Dragoon. Coin Dragon is a fellow collector, and he's definitely been in the coin community for a long time, and is what I would consider some of the OGs of our little coin collecting group that we have. So we appreciate
Yeah,
his. We appreciate
we're
him.
Shani.
Okay, not that old. Yeah, we appreciate him coming on and hanging out with us and kind of bringing some knowledge and bringing some personal perspectives to especially this topic for this week, which is coin compositions. So there have been a lot of changes to coin compositions, and that's the metals that they've been produced with over the years. So the one that we wanted to talk about, and the one that I specifically asked Frank to talk about, is the wood grain or woodies. The wood grain or woody coin is one type of error that you may find coin while hunting or shopping for coins online. And ouch, sorry, I bit my tongue. Ow. um, these are generally found in the Lincoln cents or early copper coinage, and really is affectionately called a woody. This term is used to describe the look of the coin due to an improper alloy mixture. And this alloy mixture, this type of error starts with smelting and mixing of the ingredients to create these coins. The composition of this mixture consists of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Generally, depending on the mixture, there could be a little bit different materials in there, but that's generally where we see where we see these wood grains. When these materials were not properly mixed or mixed well enough, when they are then rolled out into thin strips of metal that the blanks are cut from or stamped from, they may have uneven color that come across as stripes or ripples or tears throughout that roll of metal. Hence the name wood grain, like you're looking at a piece of wood or woodies. So many collectors look for these types of error coins, and some of the errors can come across in the coins very subtly, or have in like kind of a mottled look, or come across as in very large stripes or large swaths of color. And it's very fortunate that we have one of our own that is that really seeks out some some of these types of coins. And so we asked Coin Dragon to come in and kind of talk about the wood grain coins, some of the things that he enjoys about them, why he seeks after them, and kind of like what his goals and things are for his collection of wood grain. Without further ado, Coin Dragon, you're up.
Oh, the pressure. Well, let's see. Let me go back to this real quick so I'll know what the heck I was thinking about. Okay, and I've got some examples on cue here shortly too. So
Copy that.
I'm sharing the screen. So, okay, well, I've been collecting on and off. God, that's going on like 30 years now. In 25, it'll be 30 years when I really actually started actively collecting. I started with a few out of my grandfather's collection. It just kind of grew from that. The internet was still really young back then, so there wasn't a whole, a heck of a lot. There was no YouTube, obviously. There wasn't even Napster then, for crying out loud. But it was a short time in coming. But anyways, let's see. I really started collecting the Woodies probably about 18, I'd say. I just thought to myself, well, if there ever was a land of misfit coins for coins, you would probably find, improper alloy mixtures on that island, because they are kind of misfit coins. They weren't supposed to be made the way that they're made. And, well, I'm kind of a misfit myself, so, it was a match made in heaven from the beginning. And, well, as far as like any kind of goals, I do have a Dansko album. The number is escaping me off the top of my head, for shame. 7103, the 1909 through 1958 book for Lincoln Cents. And I'd like to fill that one up. And I'm really off to a good start. Having trouble finding decent examples post, say, 1947, I'd say. Oh, there's Lady Dragon in the chat. Hello, my darling.
Hi, Linda.
And I can't, well, with the exception of the 1954 S, which for some reason there was an explosion of wood grains that you could find in 54 S's. Both obverse and reverse, but it seems like a lot more on the reverse to me for whatever reason. Maybe it was just that batch. Let's see. Well, I do have a couple examples here that I wanted to show you from said Dansko album.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Pull that one up. I got way too many windows open again.
Yeah. While he's getting a hold of that, I mean, I do agree. You get to 1946, 1947, it seems like a lot of the wood grains just kind of just disappeared. You just don't come across them very often. Early teens and 20s and 30s are, I mean, it's just full of them. And probably some of the best examples out there are probably from the early teens.
Yep, definitely. And early 40s too.
Yeah, early, yeah.
41, 42, 40. Lots of really good examples there. Well, I'm going to start off in the teens here. Let me make sure I'm doing that. Okay. Hey, Windows works. Just don't tell them.
Wow. So
That is
that's
the 1911S.
Okay.
That just looks like it's, well, Abe looks like he got paint bombed. Somebody just filled up a balloon and tapped right upside the head.
It almost looks like the front of it got painted and then just parts of it got flaked off, but that's actually
yeah.
Yeah. It's actually the improper mix of the coin in there.
And wait a minute, is that no? There's the reverse. Okay,
Ooh,
the reverse is very sharp.
that's pretty.
No, that's my P. That's the S. Okay, I was right the first time. Yeah, my 11P is really high grade. This needs to be upgraded, but it is an 11S, so that might take a little bit. Yeah, that's my P.
Wow. So on this one, you can kind of see the darker areas are going to be more of a copper, and the lighter areas are going to be more of the tin and zinc that is going to be more in that area. That gives a contrast. So it literally looks like somebody took a piece of wood and basically struck a coin out of it.
Exactly. Hence the term. Or some people will call it, tiger striped, or there's bunches of different names for it. There's my 12.
Oh wow.
P. 12S. I should have just pulled these up individually, so I'm not thumbing through them all. But you get to see some of the examples I have inside my Dansko album.
Wow, that's amazing.
When I got that Amscope, I also upgraded the camera, so I can take pretty much full coin shots now.
Nice.
So yeah, that's.
So for your collection, I'm gonna ask this: do you have a preference on the type of wood grain that you're after, or are you after more of a mottled look, or more of a small speckled look, or do you go after the stronger contrasts, tiger stripes, or is there one that you find yourself going after more?
Well, let's see. Out of all those choices, I'd have to say the one that costs the less is the one that I get.
Okay, that's fair.
It's got a couple little on the rim on the back, but I was okay with it. No, actually, for the longest time, I was really after the fine grain, like my 09. Let me pull that up. I have to go.
Oh, goodness.
There we go. Can I make you dizzy there, Blues?
Wow.
And we just lost Blues.
Yeah, there's fine grain there. You can see how it doesn't have the stripes per se of
right.
a typical. This is another one that's, in fact, I think that's my PVDB reverse. And that's the obverse of the same coin. This, it looks almost like a blackish color on the obverse, with the exception of these little flakes on here. And I know that's been kind of a topic on some Facebook groups too, that this flakiness that happened. And I'm like, ooh, I got one. Cool. Too bad I don't have one of those double die reverses that everyone's been finding.
Right.
Those are really neat looking. And that's just my P.
Wow.
Right, so 9P. That's all
Well,
low MS, I'd say.
I guess the wood grain ones that I have don't even compare to that.
This is many years in the compiling though, too.
You were showing the 11S, 12S, 13S. I mean, for most collectors, just having a keyed 8 or a semi-keyed 8 wheat penny in their collection, they're pretty ecstatic about. But now you add the wood grain to it, and it just gives it just more of a pop to one's collection.
They have character.
Yeah.
They do have character.
Oh,
here we go again. Don't look.
Don't look. Like flashing strobes.
I try to collect XF or higher. Nothing lower There are a couple examples you probably saw flash by there that aren't quite as high grade. Those are going to be upgraded. This was just, I filled my first page except for the 14D and the SVDB.
Yeah.
Second page is full, third page is full.
I bet you there's a lot of books out there that are missing those particular coins in woody or non-woody condition.
Oh, yes. See that one there? I that's not an XF at all. That definitely is. I lucked out on that one. It's got a bit of a weak reverse, but the teens, you're going to see that. This was a fancy one that I picked up, and I think I got it for a song too.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh,
that one.
That's the reverse.
Okay. See,
wow.
now that's a good example of what CJ was talking about. You get that wood appearance.
Yeah,
exactly.
It looks like literally somebody took a board and just basically struck a coin out of it. Like if you were to put that on top of a board, like you would lose it.
Dazzle camouflage, yes.
Right.
16S, 17D. That was a nice one that I found too. Nothing on the reverse though. That's the only problem. I mean, just a little smear of color. That's it. That's all I could get with the camera.
Now, with your experience on collecting these woodies, are there, besides the key dates or the semi-key dates, and anything like past 1946, is there particular dates that are more harder to come by that you've noticed?
Some of the branch mints are harder to find in decent grades with wood grain. I mean, you can find probably a beat up 17S, with some wood grain on it, fairly easily. I'm not saying it's super easy, but you probably find it. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Hold on.
Sorry. I'm asking questions and I lost them.
I forgot where the point I was going to make. I was looking at this. I'm trying to think.
I was going to say, like, is it, do you think over time that the standards on the smelting process had become stricter to not allow the wood grains to exist? Like they refine their processes or anything that that would basically what makes them harder as they continue on?
The technology evolved, exactly, and tolerances became finer and finer. Probably why we don't see them today. I mean, well, we've got copper-clad caca now for pennies, but
the appropriate term is zinc.
I wasn't even
Zinkins.
Let's see there. Oh, that was another good one too. There's your tiger stripe.
Yeah, that definitely fall under a tiger stripe category.
And it's another AU borderline slider MS type fun thing. I think those are laminations that you see, not holes like damage in the coin. You find laminations with woodies like peanut butter goes with jelly. They're made by the same thing.
Based off of the principle that because the alloys are mixed together, then they don't have a good bond, so they're actually peeling away.
Yes, they didn't play well with each other in the smelting process, and this leaves them, apart, separate. So when you get wear, it flakes off on the weak spots.
Now, in your opinion, if you got a coin that is classified as a woody and it has a lamination peel on it or lamination cracks, does that take away from the overall appearance in your opinion? Because there's just too much going on?
Nah, maybe a little bit, but it's an inevitable outcome of the process anyhow. One day, many years down the road, these here too will probably peel away. Unless I, encase them in lucite or something. The elements off of them. And I've seriously been considering that for this particular collection.
Oh, that's nice reverse there. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that last one? Yeah, that was pretty sharp. That's the 19P.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Philadelphia ones you can get in high grade. The branchments, pricey. A little more lamination on that one. That one needs to be upgraded so bad. There isn't even anything on the reverse. Now here's 20 and 21. Those were good years too for decent wood grain. Oh, that's the end of page 1. I got to go to page 2. Right here, page 2.
Now, as long as you've been collecting, I know you got your woodies, you got designated places for your RPMs, designated places for like your DDOs and your DDRs. Now, if you come across a woody with like a significant RPM on it, how are you personally classifying that? Is that part of your woody collection or is it part of your RPM collection?
It is. Well, for myself, I would definitely include it in my woody collection. The RPM, the doubling, the die doubling, anything else going on with it is just icing on top of the cake for me. As long as it's high enough grade too. Otherwise, it will definitely be going with my RPMs or etc. Yeah, that's a good point too. It would depend on the RPM.
I agree, Paul. It depends on the RPM, but I mean, if you're looking like an FS 301 or 501 RPM on some of these, some of these wheats, I mean, they're pretty significant RPMs, and they kind of stick out like a cloud in a clear sky. So,
my 1909S is an S over horizontal S, and it's in my wood grain collection.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm going to need your address.
What he means is that we're coming to visit next year. I'm just saying.
Hey, that is all right.
So I just wanted to show this before we transition.
I don't have pictures of my ass.
But this is a 39 Denver that I found, and this kind of goes along with what you were talking about, the really fine grain.
Yes.
Like
it is so fine, and with that black and white darker appearance, it almost washes out all the lettering going around it. It just kind of just brings it in there so nicely.
Yeah, so this one, I thought the coin was just dirty, but it's not dirty. Like, that's just the color of...
It's just filthy cool is what it is.
Yeah. So, I found that one coin roll hunting, so I thought you guys would get a kick out of that.
Oh, that's a beauty. Let me check my 39S. We might have to talk here.
And I got one more question for you, Frank.
Sure, shoot.
Because I know you are up to par on these woodies and always looking and searching in for them. Have you even seen or heard of the 22 No-D woody?
I have not personally seen one, but it would stand to follow that they do exist because both can occur simultaneously at the same year.
Right.
I would agree with that. I've just never personally seen one.
I'd like to have one. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I would like to have a 1955 double die obverse #1.
Well,
and that would go in my Woody book too.
and I would like the Mega Million numbers for the next drawing. So,
Right?
and then
Yeah,
I
that
could
would
find you that 55 that you always wanted.
It's just so elusive.
I could
Does it
buy
fall
all
out?
I could buy all the 55s with $1 billion.
Right. Ooh, corner that market. Ooh, buddy, you go crazy.
So we have shown examples of different types of wood grains on real coins. So what we wanted to do is, and Frank, thank you very much for showing us some of your pictures and really explaining like, hey, this is what drives you to be a collector for the wood grain, and the fact that we know you as the collector of the wood grains. So I consider you one of the foremost experts, in my opinion, of the wood grain collection. So it's what it is. So the other side of the coin, per se, as it is faux woodies. So people have found other coins in the Lincoln Cent series. These are generally noted to be around the late 70s, early 80s. And people claim these to also be wood grain coins. However, there is a very fine line, pun intended, of these particular coins and the examples that they show. So on these types of coins, there are light and dark marks on the coin going basically straight across the coin in some fashion, and they're extremely straight, and they're extremely narrow. So it looks like straight lines going across the coin. And that's what most of us consider as being faux woodies. Now, the actual cause for the faux woodies of the late 70s and early 80s is not specifically defined. However, it is generally considered that these modern woodies are created from dirty rollers from the rolling machines after the smelting process, and as the metal is rolled out into the thin strips that then go into the blanking machine. So those types of coins, people are like, hey, this is a wood grain, and it's a lot more modern than where you would generally find wood grain. The other point around this time frame is 1962 is the time frame that there was actually a change in the composition for the Lincoln Cent, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, about different times that the U.S. has changed the metal compositions in some of the coins during production. But that's a quick note on faux woodies or modern woodies, as people will generally find these coins while coin or hunting.
I call them something else.
I call them send it back to the bank.
We got a special place for them type of coins.
Back in the box that goes back to the bank. So in terms of metal content or composition, there has been a number of times that the U.S. mints have changed their compositions, and specifically on business strikes. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we compiled kind of a short list. Short list of different times with different denominations that the U.S. has changed the composition due to certain circumstances. Blues, do you want to take the first one?
The Indian heads?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Indian heads, 1863, 1864. But before we get to that, let's go from 1859 through 1863. The Indian heads were struck with 88% copper and a 12% nickel mix. In the beginning of 1864, the metal content was changed to 85% copper and a 5% tin and zinc, largely due to the lack of materials in during the Civil War. 1864 Indian head design was altered by James Longacre, and the added the letter L to the ribbon of the headdress.
So this is an example of how during the Civil War it actually changed what went into coins. The big note about the coins during this time frame is that there was actually a lot of coinage that was struck privately during this time because the U.S. mints were not able to produce because they're focused on fighting a war. And they actually took many of these shopkeeper tokens and these shop coins and actually melted them down. So you can see a lot of different variations from and colorations in these types of coins because of this kind of, I'm going to say, wild mix of metals from all of these different shop tokens that were produced during the time that were taken and remelted to actually strike government coinage. So 1962. 1962, there was a small change in the composition of the Lincoln cent, and so prior to it's in that time frame. Prior to it was the 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. After 1962, they removed the tin out of the mixture and went strictly to the zinc. This created from all of the Lincoln cents from 1963 on to just be a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Dragon, would you like to do 82?
Am I still? Oh, okay. Making sure my microphone was still working. Sure. Then you got 1982. So you probably know the next significant change for the Lincoln cent was in 82, when just all bedlam broke loose at the mint. When the whole coin was designed, as the cost of materials continued to rise, and there was a new configuration for the Lincoln cent. It was a core of zinc, which was 99.2%, with just a little plating of copper, pure copper on the outside is 0.8%. And it leaves the total content at 97.5 zinc and 2.5% copper. And then
very small.
Small date D.
We're talking about metal content, sir.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So the next significant one is actually the 3-cent coin. So for those that don't know, there was actually a 3-cent coin that was utilized by the U.S. government, and it was struck from, I want to say 1851 to 1889. So they actually were utilized for quite a number of years. So the 3-cent coin actually has the most amount of change in really a short amount of time when we're talking about U.S. coinage. The initial striking of the 3-cent coin was struck in 75% silver and 25% copper, and these were between 1851 and 1853. In 1854, there was a significant change, increasing the amount of silver to 90% and the other 10% being copper. And these 3-cent silver coins, or trimes, and they were actually called trimes by the U.S. Treasury Department and as authorized by Congress on March 3rd, 1851. So they were actually labeled as trimes.
Pardon me, sir, do you have the trime?
Yeah. So the second change for the 3-cent coin came in 1865 as the silver versions of the coin were hoarded during the Civil War. The 1865 3-cent one struck in 75% copper and 25% nickel, with the 3-cent silver versions of the coin were actually struck all the way up until 1872. But the years after 1862, they all had extremely low mintages. Like the mintages on them barely ever went above 10,000 coins. So they were very, very small for business strikes. And the 3-cent nickels were produced all the way up until 1889. So we have a lot of changes in this particular coin over the years in kind of a really short amount of time. A lot of the other changes that we see on coins that are on this list are generally like one significant change, or maybe a slight change over basically 40 or 50 or 60, 70 years of production. So I included the trimes and the 3-cent nickels because they are part of U.S. history, and there's a lot going on with them. Blues, you want to do dimes and quarters?
Dimes and quarters. Both dimes and quarters retained their original silver content until 1964. 1965, the contents changed from 90% silver and 10% copper to a 75% copper, 25% nickel. This change was due to the rising cost of silver,
which are coming back down.
So that's why when you see people be quarter roll hunting and stuff, they're looking for 1964s and before for the silver content. Anything above that is just regular quarter. Then you're just looking for just the quality and varieties and stuff like that on them. But they basically they just took all the silver out of them in 65, and that was the change for the dimes and the quarters.
Frank, you want to do Kennedy's?
What? Oh, huh? Sorry. I was looking at something. Oh, I gotcha. Okay, yeah. Well, Kennedy half dollars are also cursed by a whole lot of different mixes too, but they also carried their 90% silver content up until 64, just like quarters and dimes. But unlike the dimes and quarters, they have stepped down to a 40% mix, 40% silver, 60% copper. And these 40%ers were struck from 65 all the way up to 70 before transitioning out of silver content completely. 71, the current Kennedy half dollars are struck in 75% copper and 25% nickel. And those are clad, of course.
So this is just kind of a short list that we put together for all of the different kind of times that the U.S. changed the metal compositions of the coins that we use. Generally, there was major events that caused these situations to occur. Like the Civil War was a kind of a big proponent of significant change due to materials. During the Civil War, a lot of the coins were hoarded by people for the silver and their copper contents, because people figured that, hey, like it doesn't, depending on who won during the war, like those coins could still be worth, still have value due to the metal content. And like the Kennedys and the dimes and the quarters are basically the modern. I'm trying to think of where I was going. Are kind of the modern equivalent, minus the war, of a change of materials or reduction of materials due to rising costs. with silver rising up to a point that the government didn't feel like that it was cost effective enough to continue producing these coins. And I personally think it's really interesting that that you have a larger coin on the Kennedy half dollars that actually retained silver content versus the smaller coins that completely got rid of their silver content after 64. I just find that really interesting. It's like if the cost of materials was too much, then why would you continue on the Kennedy
it's
half dollars versus maybe the dimes? Like you could leave the dimes because your overall content is going to be a lot smaller per coin versus. But what do I know, right?
So it's really not about cost saving, is it there, Mr. Mint Director?
Yeah. You know what? I've never even thought of it that way until you said something. I'm like, okay, that
Yeah,
doesn't
great
make
point.
sense at all.
Uh,
Uh-oh. And Frank hit the floor.
yeah, this garbage can being silly. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
There's always something going on in the background with Frank.
Was I supposed to say something? I forget.
So what do you guys think? Like in modern times, we do know that some of the modern silver, as Paula mentioned here in the comments, that they did change recently to more of a straight bullion level of silver content. But what do you guys think in terms of do you foresee any other maybe reconstruction or reconfiguration of our coinage in terms of their metallic content? Like, do you think that, like, say the nickels are ever going to change? 'Cause the nickels probably have the least amount of change or no change in nearly their entire history.
Mm-hmm.
Being struck out of copper nickel in as a whole factor. Do you guys foresee any changes, or do you think that we the government should change to a cheaper material to have better costs?
I also think that there's another problem looming for all coinage as a whole, and that's that digital currency stuff that they're trying to push. I don't see them getting cute with any kinds of metal contents anytime soon at all. If maybe to make gold 4.9s fine permanently, that would be a good thing. Same thing with silver. I mean, that I think they might no, they don't do that. But for like the Eagles, go to straight 4.9s for all your bullion. Yeah, the digital currency, it's coins and paper money for that matter might be going the way of the dodo, in the near future.
Yeah, I do see some type of maybe some change coming down the line to make it more cost effective for the mint to produce coins. I just kind of hope that they're smart about it and don't produce it with a metal that's going to just disintegrate in 3 or 4 years and then it's just a pile of ashes. They still got to produce a coin that's still going to be in circulation for years to come. And maybe not produce 1 billion of them every year because do we really need 1 billion pennies every year?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like you said, if they get scratched, they're doomed. Scratched, not even like road rash mangled or anything. You scratch them, they're doomed. The zinc is exposed, and the coin is a goner. Talking about Lincoln cents, of course.
Yeah. Paula brings up a good point that they're going to be reclaiming the coins. Could there be a possibility where they're just going to take everyone's silver coins down the road from people's collections? Are they going to be forcing people to be turning in this silver?
I don't think it's ever going to get to that. But I will say I think at some point the U.S. government might go the way of Canada and actually basically stopping production on the cent, and basically allowing all of that to come back to the mints and be basically melted down and repurposed, because that in my opinion the Lincoln cent is probably one of the most uncost effective coins. I want to say that the cost to make one of the 1 cent is something in the ballpark of like 2 to 7 cents. So like the cost of actual value ratio is so unbalanced that it does not make any logical sense to keep reducing it when it is it's literally a money sink into things that does not have value. And I could see the U.S. government, at some point making a decision to say, hey, we're not gonna do this anymore, and then basically striking those things out. Because I mean, Canada had started that in, I want to say 2013 ballpark.
Yes, with the pennies.
Yeah, with the pennies, and basically everything else is it rounds up or rounds down. Like that's how you make the nearest basically nickel. That's how they've been able to get away with it, and it hasn't collapsed their economy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, when they got rid of the Canadian penny, I mean, the economy still stayed the same.
Yeah, so like it did not affect them nearly as, like, there was obviously a period of adjustments, but like the adjustments are pretty minimal when it comes to the big picture.
Yeah. I personally, I'd like to see him get rid of the penny.
Yeah.
But that's my personal opinion, and I know there's been a lot of talk in the past and speculation on the penny going away from collectors and everything that over the years, and you don't hear much about it anymore. But there was a lot of talk and a lot of shows and streams and posts about it. So Paula says crash the nickel.
Paula is apparently very against the nickel. She has some kind of hatred about the nickel.
I don't blame her. That darn thing keeps staring at her with one eye. It's kind of freaky.
The Anthony dollar.
Yeah. Stop producing dollar coins. That's another point.
What do you use them at, like Disney World and machines or something? I don't understand what you even use them for.
You
cash registers ever.
So an interesting thing about the dollar coin, and this is open forum. But one thing that I thought that was interesting about the dollar coin is basically how it came about to begin with. That it was basically just heavy lobbying from vending machine companies that started that whole thing, which is just bonkers. Just bonkers that our entire currency configuration changed because of some company, which is weird to say that, but then also in the same breath, like, hey, the reason that we use the nickel right now, and like as in the metal, is because of one guy who was the a mogul in the trade
machines.
and universe of nickel. So I can't really say that's kind of weird. But the dollar coins came about from these vending machine companies that wanted to basically have more things to use in their machines so that they could make more money. And of course, we all know the first attempts at some of the more modern dollar coins were not great. Probably with the Susan B. Anthony coins being kind of an abject failure upon launch. Only really working for I'd say working in a very quotacious mark area for only 3 years before they scrapped it completely, and then tried to revisit it in 1999. And again, failed abjectly entirely.
Yeah.
So just the fact that we that transition to the Sacagawea. Now, don't get me wrong; like the Sacagawea coins are great because that highlights a very important part of our early history that transition to the transition to the presidents and all of these great things, the innovators. Like there's a bunch of really cool programs that came out of it, but I think prior to that was kind of a hard miss.
Yeah. What did our professor Ken Peavy always referred to for the Susan B. Anthony's?
Ye old sea hag.
The old sea hag.
That's the one. Although in '99 they did have a really low mintage of 750,000 proofs, I think it was, from San Francisco. I'm almost sure it's the 99S proofs.
Well, those are proofs. Like, can you imagine creating a coin like that and a proof for people collecting? Like, why would you set apart a proof for somebody to collect for a coin that failed miserably to be accepted by the public?
Hey, my bookmark's gone. What the hell? I was looking for that mintage just to be accurate and stuff.
Well, we got
99 proofs, 750,000.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I was gonna say I got a book. Okay.
Got a book.
A book.
The book.
Well, it's funny because I think Blues and I talked about that. I don't think that there has been one show that we have done that I have not referenced or held up a book. So Here you go. Here's your sign. I'm about the books.
Held up a book. That's
keep the tradition alive.
Yeah.
I think that's a sleeper, that coin, that Susan B, man. 740,000? I thought it was 750,000. Well, either or is really freaking low.
It's really low.
Yeah. Get one slabbed. Hang on to it. I did. I think I still have mine. Pretty sure. Only payment. Okay, thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
it wasn't sure Irishmans were doing.
She's saying that
PCGS has a mintage at 740.
Yeah, and the Red Book has 750.
How dare they?
Okay, so we'll just say between 740 and 750 is the mintage.
Somewhere over 700,000.
Yeah.
Something over 700.
Split the difference.
Yeah, but the other thing, though, I think that that Paula actually points out is that that was some of the only proofs that actually came out of Philadelphia, because most of the proofs, especially the mono proofs, came out of San Francisco or technically West Point, with the bulk of them coming specifically out of San Francisco.
Not the Lanaga?
Not the Lanaga, sir.
Oh, sorry. Carson City? No.
Delonic. Oh God. I remember doing the research on that, man. Holy crap. What a pain that one was.
I think we had a good discussion on how many mints there were, and I'm like, no, I know this one. Like, I won a question guessing this one. I know this one, and there's a lot of people that actually miss Manila.
Yep.
That the M for Manila, and a lot of people that you know, when we're talking about older coinage, you know, the D for Dahlonega versus Denver, and there's actually almost, I want to say it's 50-ish years between Dahlonega shutting down and Denver even coming into fruition. So they were never, other than they minted completely different coinage. Dahlonega was very specifically gold, silver only, gold only, and Denver was business strikes and all of that stuff. So they were minting completely different coinage, and moreover, they were completely set apart in terms of time. So there is zero overlap for those. But imagine if you had a coin that was actually minted by both, and you had an RPM, a D over D. So is it a D over D from the same mint, or is it a D over D from two different mints?
Denver over Dahlonega. Interesting. That would have been kind of cool.
That'd be kind of wild.
And how would one diagnose that?
That's just a big stubble full of rabbit that just came out of the hole. And
indeed.
All right. So, any last words on metal compositions that you guys don't feel like that we've hit on?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention Professor Peavy in getting me started with Woody's too. That's kind of the first place that I really saw like any kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Effort put into collecting these, wood grains. And I was like, I have always kind of dug those. And I had this one from a long time ago from an LCS in my previous life there that it had like green stripes on it. And he just said bronze streaks on it was like in a little 1x1 flip. It wasn't even a 2x2. It was a 1x1. And my very first Lincoln collection was all 1x1s. But anyways, it had that brass streak on it. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. I need to find that. Yes, nice. Punch, not stamped, dang it. Stamps get stamped.
So, all right. We're coming up on an hour. So I want to thank everybody in the chat, and thank you to everybody out there that was watching the show. We do appreciate you coming in and watching. We try to do this every Monday, talking about interesting topics and some of a lot of the history and the stuff that's behind the topics or behind the scenes, to provide more information out into the community for knowledge. So thank you everyone for coming in. Make sure and hit the like and hit the subscribe button, and make sure and hit the bell to be notified whenever we put out a new video or go live. And we appreciate you guys all coming in, and thank you very much.
Tasty pinata.
Thanks everyone.
Have a good night, guys.